welcome back to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Happy Thursday. I hope that today is an awesome day so far, and if your day is just beginning, then I hope that it just gets off to a great start. And as I say every single podcast, if your day is going crummy, nothing is going right, well, just know that if you believe that it could get better, it can get better. Even if you only have like a 5-minute time to just feel like you can fully take a breath through your whole chest and lungs and just feel okay, even if that's just for a moment. So sometimes there are those days. There are those days where it's just like you're beaten down until it's time to go to sleep, and you just pray that the next day is amazing. And a lot of times it's like that, I feel like it's only short seasons of life where things just continue to just like hit you down like day after day after day. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It definitely happens, and I just pray that that is not a often occurrence for many of you out there, but it does happen, and you just have to have faith that things are going to continually get better. So let's just jump into today's topic. Today I want to chat quickly about this phrase, and that phrase is thinking is helpful, but actions are real. So a lot of this kind of thought and methodology and stuff like that comes from when I would talk a lot about how I had big dreams to become a motivational speaker. That's still a dream. I'm still striving for that. But there are even dreams where I would talk about how I wanted a podcast, or I wanted to start doing videos on YouTube, or there are all kinds of things. And my husband would be like, okay, well, you just need to start doing it. And I would always be like, no. I have to spend time planning and doing this big old thing and drawing it out as much as possible. I also struggle with being a perfectionist, so that was also a problem as well. And he's like, no, you just got to start. And then I was like, okay, I'll figure out how to start. And then I never started. But then if you've been anywhere on the internet, I'm sure that you've seen this message where it just tells you that like you need to start even if you're not ready, because you just have to jump right in and learn as you're going. And I feel like that is the truth. There are definitely some things where you don't want to just jump in, some stuff that's like super technical or that could be dangerous. But I feel like in general, if you're doing a side hustle or a hobby or something like that that you've been dreaming of doing, or you want to start studying, then you should just jump right in. And then you learn as you go, because there is no way that you're just going to be perfect from the get-go. I know some people are gifted with just being good at things like right from the jump, but even to be the best at that thing, you still have to work at it. So I fully believe that. But yeah, I just think thinking is helpful. It's definitely helpful to have a plan, but actions are real. Actions are what actually drive you to get that thing that's in your mind to reality. So thoughts on this is that you need to evaluate how many thoughts you've had that haven't gone into action. I think it's good to start there, especially if you are a perfectionist like myself. So if I were to sit and think like, how many things have I thought about wanting to do and even written a list down and haven't gone into action? It's a significant list, I would say, at least for me personally, and it really makes you sad if you actually sit down and list it all out, because you're like, wow, how much time and opportunity have I missed out on because I decided to just sit around and think about it and dream about it and not actually take any action, even the smallest thing of just learning like more about it. Even my husband would say, no, you just got to like jump in and learn as you go. But you're not even like taking the action to actually learn more about the thing that you're really interested in, So I feel like that really has like a come to Jesus moment with it, where if you actually take the time to evaluate a list of things that you have just not actually acted on, it'll get you going. You should create a written plan if you feel overwhelmed with where to start, and enlist help if necessary. So I think that if you're like, okay, I'm actually going to start doing whatever dream it is, let's use my example of like a podcast. Okay, so I've been wanting to do it for years. Okay, I'm actually going to like get off my butt and like put some action into it. Well, I need to create a plan. And so that actually is what I did. I wrote down a list of things that needed to get done, and there were a few things that I left out despite me doing some research. I just didn't realize what the amount of time something would take, and I feel like that's a good learning lesson within the thing that you actually are trying to move from thought to reality. But yeah, create a written plan especially if you feel overwhelmed, because then you can just list everything out. You can have like different points where it's literally beginning to end, and don't necessarily mean end like you're finishing it, like to the point of where you will need to do something else. You know what I mean? Just list everything out, everything you need to do in order. And then if you still feel overwhelmed, like you don't know what to do, or you feel like you've gone as far as you can by yourself, doing your own Google research or whatever it is, enlist help. Find some professional that is doing the thing that you want to do, or find a friend or a family member that can help you. If it's just like, some side business that they can help you out with very easily. You want to enlist help when you don't know the knowledge yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. Absolutely there's not. And I think that if you are uncomfortable asking for help, then you really need to examine how prideful you are. And I'm not saying everyone with this train of thought is super prideful. It's just something that you should examine to find out why. Why don't you want to ask for help? What's the problem with that? And if the problem is you don't know where to find this help, that's definitely a different problem. I get that. I totally get that. And that's when you do have to find a professional in whatever it is, and then seek their guidance and ask around, to be honest, and figure that out. But that is definitely a separate issue that we can talk about at a different time. But yeah, so enlist help. And then also realize that without serious action, those thoughts would not become reality. I feel like this just jumps back to the beginning. You can sit around and you can plan everything out. You can do what I said. You can have a written plan. It can be very super detailed. You could have interviewed a professional in what they do and find out everything you need to know. You could have Googled every single thing on the internet and figured out everything that you need to know. But if you do not actually put serious action into it, then it's not really going to turn out to be anything. It's going to turn out to be a well-written plan, but you have to actually do something. For me, podcasting, I wrote down, I spent weeks writing down notes for different shows and episodes, and trying to figure out themes and ideas and how I wanted to structure everything. But if I didn't actually go and find a site to host my podcast, or actually start recording the podcast, and then actually learning how to use the software where I edit the podcast, or even going on my Instagram and finding out if people are actually interested in seeing a video of me recording the podcast so they can watch it in video form as opposed to just listening to it on a podcast platform. You have to actually do the work, and if you're not willing to do the work, then why did you waste all the time doing the plan? It's kind of a waste of time. If you're not willing to do the actions, then why are you doing the plan? Unless you want to be a professional plan writer for people, hey, there's a job in that. You just actually have to get on the internet and start promoting that, which also is another action. And then, lastly, one of the biggest things, and it was a big thing for me, was you just, in the end, you need to, if you're ready, you're written out a plan, you want to go through the actions, but you don't feel brave enough. You feel like you are having issues with a fear of judgment or rejection. And for me, I would just tell you, after going through so many issues, mental health struggles with those things, I would just tell you to be brave. Push past the fear of judgment and rejection, because it's going to happen regardless. There's always going to be people out there that are going to judge you, that are going to reject you, that are going to prey on you because you're not brave enough, you're not going to push through, but you need to push through. We all need to push through. We all need to believe in ourselves and be willing to fall on our faces multiple times to figure it out, because despite having a well thought out, written down plan, talk to professionals, feel like you know it inside and out, backup plans to fix things, something's going to go wrong. Something. And I don't mean that negatively. I just mean that something will go wrong. There will be an issue. Something will come up. You might fall on your face, even just the teeniest bit. And you need to be able to have the strength to recover so you can push through and move on. And that will make you a better person at whatever it is. So be brave. Push past your fear of judgment and rejection. Go with it. Do it no matter what. Those peeps are always going to be there, so they're always going to stand their ground to hate, so just push through. So thanks for joining me again, guys. Gotta go. Happy Thursday. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope this helps someone. I will see you tomorrow for the next podcast. Bye, everyone.